Hi guys, welcome back to both you and me because I was out for a few weeks. I'm just gonna get straight into today's video. We're just gonna ignore my hair because I'm actually currently growing it out. Yeah, the first one. This is gonna be a short one. I'm actually gonna get 3 videos out this week. There's also gonna be one put up for Patreon that I recorded ages ago. I just haven't had time to edit it for them. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the link and stuff. Anyway, so we're just gonna get into today's story. So our first story takes place in 1999, and Frank Power is very close to his family, to his siblings. He actually lives just down the road from his sister Gertrude. So Gertrude was 56 and she lived with her husband John Dolan and their 27-year-old son John Francis Dolan, who went by Frankie. And because they lived down the road and they were close, they would see each other quite regularly, which is why Frank and their other brother Michael Power, they became concerned because Gertrude didn't make it to a family visit when they were going in to see their other sister who was in hospital. So Frank Power decided to call around the following day on the 28th of June 1999 to their house on Ravensdale Road in East Wall. He called a couple of times, so I think maybe because he lived so close he was able to just call down. There was no answer, left, came back, and he'd done this a couple of times. And then eventually Frankie answered the door to him. And so obviously he was like, oh, like, where's Gertrude? And Frankie said that his parents had gone away. Now, Frank would say that it was the smell that got him. And I think, like I've heard and read anyway that it's a very unmistakable, distinct smell. If you ever get it, you know what it is. And he peeked into the sitting room or living room. He could see like a duvet on the ground. So he left anyway and phoned his brother, Michael, and so the two of them went back. And when the two of them went back, Michael went in and lifted the duvet in the sitting room, and underneath he found the body of his sister Gertrude and her husband, John. They asked their nephew what happened, and crying, Frankie said, there was an argument and I stabbed them. His uncles told him that he was going to have to tell the Gardaí everything. And obviously then the Gardaí were called, they arrived, and they took Frankie to Store Street Garda Station. So John was 71 and Gertrude was 56, and it says they were both retired and that Gertrude was on disability. So I don't know if she was necessarily retired or that she was just on disability and John was retired. So I'm not sure obviously what was wrong with Gertrude. I don't know if it was that she had mobility issues or if there was something else to it as well. And then Frankie, it said, was a former Irish rail worker, so obviously that's our national rail line, but he didn't work there at the time that this took place. I don't know if he quit, if he got fired or what happened, and that will come up later. Frankie would tell the Gardaí that he came home with, quote, a few drinks on him, and that when he went into the sitting room with his mum and dad, his mum obviously then kind of started, talking about like that, his lifestyle and his career and what he was going to do now that he was gone from Irish Rail. So again, I would think it implies that maybe he got fired for whatever reason, or maybe like that he just quit with no kind of concept of, you need a job, you need to be working and paying bills, all this. I also read in one source that he was a father of one, so even then it could have been kind of like, well, you need to be, providing for your child, all this. An argument's kind of, started, and the dad actually left. John left to go to bed. And so a row erupted between Frankie and his mum. Frankie would then say to the Gardaí that he went into the kitchen, he took a knife, and he went back in and he stabbed his mum. From obviously the commotion, the cries, the screams, I don't know, his dad came back down to be like, what happened? And he stabbed his dad. So his mom, he says that at this point his mom was on her bed. So we know there was a bed in the sitting room. And so then when he comes in, obviously he sees the blood or whatever, says what happened, and so he stabs his dad as well. He would tell the Gardaí, quote, I killed her because she was a bitch who was always drunk. He would say that he regretted killing his father and that he didn't deserve to be stabbed. Frankie was charged with the murder of his mother and father, and the case went to trial in January 2001. Gertrude's brothers, Frank and Michael, would obviously give their testimony on what happened that day. So would the Gardaí. Garda McAvinci would describe about, arriving on the scene, lifting up the blanket to find the bodies one on top of the other, and that they were badly decomposed. The deputy state pathologist at the time, Marie Cassidy, would explain that the bodies had to be identified by their dental records. Gertrude was stabbed 4 times and John was stabbed 3 times. So I kind of even feel by like saying, oh, I didn't mean to kill my dad, like he didn't deserve it. You still stabbed him 3 times. It wasn't like he came down and, you know, there was a panic and I stabbed him once and then it was, oh, like shit, what happened? He stabbed him 3 times. Also, I just want to say, so they were last seen, the couple were last seen in and around June 17th and weren't discovered to 28th. So the Gardaí and the prosecutor believe that their bodies were lying there up to 10 days. This is obviously why they were so badly decomposed. And Frankie would say that after the stabbing, he just drank constantly for days. But he was in the house, so he was basically just living with the dead bodies of his parents in the sitting room that he just covered with the duvet. Frankie would say that he remembered very little of what happened. All he remembers is the sound of the knife going into his mouth. The jury of 6 women and 5 men would deliberate for 8 hours over 2 days. They were sent to a hotel on the first night after 4 hours. And they would come back and find Frankie Dolan guilty of the murder of his mother and guilty of manslaughter of his father. He received the mandatory life sentence for his mother and 5 years for his dad, but this ran concurrently. The judge, Justice Paul Carney, would say that this was, quote, truly upsetting for everyone involved. So the reason I decided to do this case was actually Frankie Dolan has been released. So that was in the news recently. So that's why I decided to have a look at this case because I had never heard of it. So he spent 21 years in prison. He was in Mountjoy. He was described as a model prisoner and he was, in the last few years, allowed out for like day releases, weekend releases, all that, which is usually a precursor for they're going to get out. So he was released this month then. It is believed that he's going to like, you know, try to settle down and rebuild his life. Frankie did express remorse and regret to court and publicly, you know, like he did. And the prison services and the Gardaí and stuff don't believe that he's a danger to society. They believe that the murder, you know, the killing of his parents was a once off and in a sense it was a moment of madness. So I'm surprised actually that he didn't get manslaughter for both. Not that I would think that that's what he deserved, but you know, if you're getting it for one, and I feel like a lot of times when this type of thing happens where there's been an argument and, you know, they get manslaughter. But in fairness, I would think like he left the room, he went into a different room and took a knife and went back, you know, with the intention of stabbing her. So there is intent there, I suppose. He did try to appeal in November 2003, but this was rejected by the Court of Criminal Appeal. So even though he has now been like released under, you know, parole, if he commits any crimes at all, he will be back to the joy. Right guys, I did say this is going to be a small one. There wasn't really a lot on it, but I thought I would come back with this one. And as I said, I'm going to be doing 3 cases in the next, like they'll be getting released over this week. So let me know what you think of this. I know I was MIA for a little while. I hope you were all well. Let me know what you guys have been up to. I went on a very exotic holiday to Clonakilty. The pudding is nothing to write home about. Yeah, so we shall just leave it there, guys. Please feel free to like and comment and subscribe and all that. If you haven't subscribed, right? I keep saying subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, please feel free to do so. If you know other people who like true crime, let them know because I'm still a little itty bitty channel trying to get out there. Yeah, so have a good day and stay safe. We shall see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.